The glass is broken, and we talk Vols with Austin Price Tuesdays here on RKW. Austin, courtesy of VolQuest and On 3 at Austin Priceless, where you get the very best covering Tennessee athletics. Austin, what's up? How are you?
Great, guys. How are you doing?
We're good. Have you ever heard Tennessee turn up their crowd noise as much as they did on Saturday night in Neyland Stadium? I mean, they're maxing out those speakers, Austin, turning up the piped-in stuff Saturday night, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, like they brought in extra speakers and they had them like those the ones that like you see at like Dollywood or Disney World, those like rocks, and they had them kind of sprinkled in everywhere, and that's getting out over your skis, calling the game, and it is what it is.
I love it. Austin, as you look at this Tennessee offense, what adjustments did you feel like they made to make things work so much better in the second half? We talked with you a lot about they can't run the ball really well in the first half, and then all of a sudden, bam, there it is again in the second half. What do you think clicked for them Saturday night that gives you hope this could just be maybe what the Tennessee offense is moving forward?
Well, I don't know if they did a whole lot of adjustments, Will. I think the biggest thing was they just started executing. I mean, you look at the first half, they had guys running wide open, weren't able to connect. Second half, same thing. They connected a few more times. They were able to run the ball a little bit more effectively. And so, the adjustments they're making there, seem to be working in the run game. But I thought the pass games looked pretty similar to the first half. It just boiled down to, Tennessee executed more in the second half and, found some rhythm, found their footing, and, were able to consistently make more plays in the second half.
Austin, do you get the sense that Nico Iamaleava is missing receivers in practice? Like, are his overthrows becoming a trend just in games? As you kind of spend time around this program, how does this staff work to not have him just miss as many guys as he's missing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's just repetition. And sometimes I think, you get the juices flowing and you get a little, amped up and the ball sells an extra 2 or 3, feet on you. Just like, you get a little amped up shooting a basketball or hitting a golf ball, whatever, like it, you just end up, instead of it, your normal stock pass that, for 40 yards ends up traveling 43 or 42. And I mean, is that correctable? Absolutely. I mean, they just have to, continue to kind of, see it happen. I thought the deep play to Thornton was as good a throw as you can make because on the run, hit him in stride. Dante made a fantastic catch. And, if he can make that throw, he sure can, make the ones from the pocket where he's, just laying it out there to a guy running open. And then hopefully that starts to click more down the stretch. You hope that basically after, he got, lit up pretty good on the one play where his head just bounced off the turf. He seemed to play pretty well after that outside of the one interception where he just forced it. I thought he played pretty well after that. So we'll see if that's kind of a wake-up call for him going forward.
Austin Price was a VolQuest and On 3. Austin, that's where I wanted to go next as far as Nico's concerned, man. He mentioned that in the postgame as far as the injury, woke him up. Has he gotten to that point in his young career as far as understanding that once you cross those lines, your engagement has to be at peak level if you're going to play this type of ball in the SEC? Has that conversation been had?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is I think Nico understands that anyways, Ramon. Sometimes, you can get a little bit more focused. It's not. I don't think he was just out there lackadaisical going through it. I think it just kind of like the urgency. To me, there's a difference between focus and urgency, and I think the focus was there from the jump. I think the urgency happened post, getting his, getting lit up a little bit. So I think the urgency started to kick in for him, in that second half, and I think the urgency clicked for a lot of guys. And so, for Nico, as he continues to progress, you want him to just continue to make more and more plays. I think the good sign for Tennessee is a little bit against Florida, but really a lot against Alabama. I mean, Tennessee had guys running open, and obviously, he missed them. a good portion of them. But like before that, they didn't have anybody running open. So I think that's a good sign. All of a sudden, the play calling is as such. And if they start to hit on some of those plays, then you're looking at an offense that's going to look a lot more like 2022 than, the last year or two.
Austin, also, rumor has it, and I think it's legal with the NCAA now because they've broken down all walls now as far as their ruling goes, but it was the recruits that initially started the storming of the field. One, how did that happen? And two, everything I've seen is flabbergasted. Once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to visit this past weekend. How big of an event was it in Knoxville with those guys in the 25s, 26s, and 27s?
It was a huge weekend. I don't know exactly who started. There's, some people say the recruits, some people say the families, the family section. Either way, the students were more reserved until they saw the one end zone, the one area going over the top. And at that point, here came the students. The good news is I think Alabama had pretty much cleared the field, so it was kind of a delayed storming of the field. But yeah, it was a fantastic environment for recruits. Obviously, if you're a defensive recruit like Isaiah Campbell, the 4-star defensive end, former Clemson commit from over in North Carolina, you got everything you're looking for. A great defensive performance, big hitting, defensive line play was really, really good. And then, obviously the environment was, second to none. So, yeah, if you're 26, 27, or even just a couple of those 25s that are still on the board, an environment that, you start to compare against, right? Like Isaiah Campbell's going to take a visit to his home state, North Carolina Tar Heels in November. That's going to be a church service compared to what he was at Saturday night. So when you start putting, start comparing, you're like, it's really apples to oranges. There's no apples to apples here.
Austin Price of VolQuest joining us this morning on Arcade Dub. Let's go back to that wide receiver group, and you spoke a little bit about Dante Thornton, that big catch. What was going on with Squirrel White in this game?
Well, Squirrel's, been battling that AC joint sprain for the last few weeks since the Arkansas game, and I think on the one diving play on that deep ball in the second half, he landed funny. I know a lot of people thought it was his shoulder. There was some chatter that it might have been like a rib type thing. He got in an ambulance, but I don't think he ever made it to the hospital.
Okay.
Because he was back on the sidelines, pretty quick. And so, I think they evaluated him and checked him out, and then he got back to the field. But he did at least leave the stadium for a minute in an ambulance.
With saying that, though, this is probably a good second bye week in terms of when it's coming, Austin, because you've got some guys banged up, including Nico Iamaleava, who we addressed, came off for a minute, went in the blue tent. How big is that to have it here at this point? And how big is it to have a different outcome than they did when they had the bye week going into Arkansas? Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, they're going to have to, have a better outcome when they play Kentucky in 2 weeks, or then history will be repeating itself. But yeah, I think it's the way that it's been structured: 4 games, bye week, 3 games. And all those are league games, then second bye week, and then the 5-game stretch to close. So, yeah, I think they're timed well, and we kind of knew that going into the season that, Tennessee, would have, kind of broken up into thirds basically the season. And so now we're going to hit that final third coming up in the month of November. But Tennessee's got a few guys that are dinged up, like a Squirrel White, like a Dante Thornton. You mentioned Nico. To kind of give them some an opportunity to heal up a little bit and get ready for the final push.
Austin Price of VolQuest, our guest, Austin Priceless, where you follow him on Twitter. Austin Howard, from one Austin to another, on campus over the weekend. What can you tell us about his recruitment? Mississippi State, obviously still in the picture there as his commitment. Vanderbilt really pushing hard for him. What's the latest there?
Well, originally committed to Vanderbilt, flipped to Mississippi State. Now, in my opinion, he'll probably announce his decommitment from Mississippi State, in fairly short order. This Tennessee-Vanderbilt battle. And then Memphis cannot be discounted. They throw that FedEx money around out there a little bit. And, I think that's something that you have to be cognizant of. I don't think it's a slam dunk that, he's just going to go to Tennessee or Vanderbilt. I think there's a chance Memphis could sway him, hometown team and all. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Austin, is kind of handling the recruiting process a little bit differently, and so we'll see what he elects to do here down the stretch. But Tennessee would love to add at least one backer, if not two.
Is there anywhere else in this class of 2025, Austin, where you feel like Tennessee is still open? I know we've talked about running back in the past as well, and DeJuan Morris, who's down in Oakland. They've got a big game this Friday night that's going to be here on the Zone. Where else are they kind of still working for 2025?
It's defensive line, potentially, like a guy like Tim Merritt, who's committed to Miami, a safety out of that state of Alabama, and then running back to go along with what you just mentioned at linebacker.
Austin, as far as the 2026 class, too, I see they got a 4-star interior offensive lineman to commit out of the state of Georgia, man. Considering the O-line you're going to lose after this next year, how big is that also to just continue to stack that cupboard of guys that come in at high quality?
Yeah, you have to continue to build on it. And, obviously they've got some really solid players committed for 25. I like what they did in the 24 class with Gage Ginther and Jesse Perry and Bennett Warren, Max Anderson, William Satterwhite. But, yeah, you want to just continue to build on, the depth on the offensive line because Tennessee does lose most of their interior after this season.
VolQuest Austin Price joins us Tuesdays here on the show. He is also on a Rivalry Thursday broadcast. Now, Austin, it's just my routine. I just pop you guys on in the background, you and Mark Packer and Eric Kane. I mean, you got a great broadcast booth up there. That's just what I'm prepping for my Friday night games to you guys. So always good to hear you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Austin Price. I love it. I go way back with all three of those guys in 3 different contexts.
Oh, man.
A lot of high school coverage there. Yeah.
That's right. Maribel Alcoa week in Knoxville.
That's a
doings.
big one, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Love it. The Titans are working out an offensive lineman. We'll tell you who that is coming up. And we'll get back to the Titans leadership discussion. We'll play the audio again if you missed it. Nick Vanette talking about that yesterday. Coming up as Hour 4 begins after this.